Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the Back Office Teardown Lab. Today I have the joy of revisiting an older kit. This is a kit I made. It's basically a signal generator and it was a fun kit to make. It's actually, if it pans out to be quite good in terms of use to me, I might actually case this. It's almost in a case. That's how good this is. And what I'm going to do, I've got an old power supply here. I'm going to try to combine these items, and you'll have to forgive me because I don't know how the thing I'm going to make actually works in reality. I'm just going to give you an example. We've got this power adapter which goes from 240 volts AC to 5 volts DC. Okay, we know that. I think we're all in agreement. And how it works, you've got a coil, and I think this is how they're represented normally, and you've got another coil. And it depends on the number of turns here, and it gives you a sort of ratio. And I suspect there's some sort of bridge rectifier here. This is going into plus, minus, right? So there's some sort of, I don't know what the symbol is for a bridge rectifier. Anyway, okay, so then you get your DC. So what my theory is, and we're going to just take the coil out of this. If it's something like, let's say you've got a bunch of windings this side and then you've got like a few that side, and that's how you get your differential. My theory is if I can put in something AC here, yeah, like 5 volts or whatever I can get out of this, then I should be able to measure 240 volts AC on this end, you know, working backwards, yeah? So that is my theory for this video, and that's how I'm going to proceed right now. So we're going to just take this. Okay. They're normally pretty cheap and shoddy. You can see I didn't even bother to get a tool out. I think I can handle this with my bare hands. Like a bear. Look at that. Yeah, I was just sort of like looking at it going, I hope there is a bloody thing in there. So this is almost like one of those power adapter teardowns. So if you watch bigclive.com, and if you don't, I recommend you do. He loves to do power supply teardowns every now and then. So this could be an homage to Big Clive. I'm doing it for you, Clive. Tell your people about this, the people who watch you, because you've got a million viewers and I've got 10. So this is your sort of separation gap. So you can see this is your transformer here, sitting right here in the middle. And there's a sort of separation gap there, and that's to stop the power from jumping across from the main side, which is this side, into your 5 volt side and killing you. This is actually pretty good. It's even got a fuse in it. Bugger, did I just break a good one? So there's a component in here, SDC 603. I wonder what that is. I'm trying to see though what would be doing the regulating, because you wouldn't be regulating it before the 5 volts because that wouldn't make any sense at all. So I wonder if is it just this diode? Is it kind of like a kind of half wave rectifier, just chopping it off? I should just have a quick scrounge in the bin actually. Let's just check what this is. Yeah, output DC 2 amps. So yeah, dunno. I could plug it in and we could measure it with the oscilloscope, but that's not going to happen. Not on my watch. So I'm going to remove this. Soldering iron is on. Yeah, there are some sort of tasty components on here. That's, again, I've just been having a massive clear out, the world's biggest clear out of the back office, and it's a very bad idea for me to even consider keeping anything because I've got so much stuff for prototyping, you know, where you buy like a bill of materials for every project, but you never get rid of them, so you end up with these shelves and shelves and shelves full of stuff that I don't even know what to do with it anymore. But I just can't resist. Look at these electrolytics and that diode, they're just there doing nothing. But this is an opto. Is that an opto isolator for some sort of feedback? Too much good stuff. Right, let's just get this coil out. So I've just noticed it seems to have more sort of windy things than I expected, so I don't really know what's going on there, because there's 4 pins on one side, on the main side, and only 2 pins on the other side. So again, my lack of knowledge on how these work, ow, it's going to let me down. But I suspect if we get a multimeter, we're going to find something. See how that works. Yeah, I think he's off. I think he's pretty much off on the 5 volt side. Probably could have just got my hot air out, but I'm pretending I'm like most of you at home and we're just doing it old school soldering iron way. It's fine. We can handle it. So I've been watching the old oh, sugar. So when I'm wiggling that, it's actually the bloody coil itself is moving, so I hope it's not damaged. So I've been watching American Gods, and I do like the old books, so that's quite a treat. Quite a treat to have a TV show you like based on a book, because I'm normally into sci-fi stuff, and you generally get, well, you don't get any sci-fi series based on most books. Probably because they're just a bit too... they always kind of work out a little bit rubbish, don't they? I'm trying to think of one, you know, like Dune, for example, and those I don't know, they're kind of unmemorable, the TV shows based on that, the TV show adaptations. I can't remember anything, to be honest with you. Yeah, come on. So I'm just poking it now. This is really quite savage. If you are doing this at home, I would suggest maybe thinking about investing in a hot air blower if you're going to do this more than once. Right, in the great tidy up, where the hell did I put my... here it is. Spoke too soon. So we're going to put this on, I guess, continuity to start with. Remember how. So we should be getting a... Good. We shouldn't be getting anything across these. And we don't. We shouldn't be getting anything across these, and we don't. So how else are these things hooked up? So it could be that there's just 2 separate coils in there. So if we measure the ohms, so these 2, 0.4. Oh, come on, behave. Hang on, 2.1 ohms on that one. I'm not making sure my fingers are away. 0.4. 0.1. So I don't know which, there's obviously different windings. I'm going to go with the one which is the one with the biggest, basically, is my theory. So we're going to go with, I think it's this pair, which was the 2.1. So we're going to go for those and those. So the next thing we need to do is get some wires. Unfortunately, I found loads of those in my box of tricks when I was having to clear out. There we go. And we're just going to hook these up. I've just, again, loose wires, lots of different colours here. So the idea is that we've got this signal generator, which we're going to hook up now, and that takes a 12 volts input, and then it outputs a square wave, sine wave, whatever wave you want. So that'll be giving us effectively our alternating current. And I don't know if you have to bias it, because we're not going to get a 0 volts here, so that's going to be weird. But the hope is basically we'll just be able to measure something on the output that'll be a higher voltage. That's what we're going to go for. We're going to try with the multimeter, I suppose, to start with, and then take it from there. So here we got a black in the signal generator, which is ground. better screwdriver for this. And then we're going to go for this sort of red colour, or now this orange one, for a, let's put it on a sinusoidal output, sine wave. Crunch that in, good and tight, it's not going anywhere. So I guess that's kind of what we need, really. We're more or less there. I was sort of worried about which contacts to use on the mains end, but we're not actually using anything. We're only just going to be measuring, so that's fine. Pop that there, pop that there. Got ya, got ya, got ya. Now I'm going to eat ya. Boom! Soldering iron off. Let's get our bench power supply on. Happens to be conveniently on 12 volts. Would help if I plug in both sets of contacts. Right. I'm kind of scared to touch that. I'm not even sure this will work, but it's funny when you get, if you've been bit by electricity, you don't want to get bit again. So we've got our thing on AC now, so we're going to measure this input here. I don't know what I'm seeing here, not much. I think we're going to need to switch to an oscilloscope, and let's try our pocket oscilloscope. Because it's a bit more convenient than the bench one. I've got to work out a way of getting a bench one in on the video camera without having to use a whole second camera. That's always a pain. Let's turn it on. Let's go with a DSO. The DSO is good, but it's a bit fiddly because it's got the really fiddly user interface, as it would have to have. You know, you've only got like 4 buttons, so that's a probe that's working. And we'll hook that onto ground. Bang! We'll hook that onto our output. He's not seeing anything. Yeah. So I'm wondering if the coil pretty much just acting as a dead short across this. Yes, it is. So if you can see there, we've got our frequency, and I'm going to adjust it so you can have it a higher frequency or a lower frequency. But I would like to be able to just sort of change the amplitude. Let's see if anything adjusts that. So no, you can't adjust the amplitude. So if we want more juice, we're going to have to put this through an amplifier. That gives me an idea. I'll be back in a second. Okay, I've got something working. The noise you hear in the background that sounds like a fan is the oscilloscope, because the pocket oscilloscope just wasn't doing it for me. So what I've done is I've taken our signal generator, I'm passing it through a baby boomer. I've coupled the 2 channels. Have a look. I've coupled the 2 channels right here. So that left and right is the sound coming from the signal generator, so one of them can go to a speaker so we can hear it, and then that's moving on to the transformer. Found I had to put a capacitor in there because something weird was going on. I'm not sure on the value. I think it's 4.7 microfarads. I think it was basically shorting out, and the idea of the capacitor was that I only want the AC component and that would let it through. That was my theory. That seems to work, and all the other bits you see there are just test probes. So what I'm going to do, I'll just put it on so you can hear what it sounds like. Okay, so you can hear what it sounds like when it's running. It's coming in around just under 10 volts. But channel 2, which is connected to the other side of the transformer, is nearly 200 volts, and it does vary, it fluctuates. If you touch it, you don't get like an electric shock or anything, there's no current there. So I don't know what that means, I don't know how you could use that, but that's what you get. And there you go. So everything I don't think it's really working well. We've kind of lost the sine wave. I don't know why the wave's distorted, if it's to do with being hooked up to the amplifier, possibly. Maybe clipping, and then by the time you get to there, it's all getting munged. But it does show you are going in say 12 volts. You know, I'm not sure exactly, that's kind of 12 volts on the peak or not. And then you're getting 200 out. So it kind of is doing it, isn't it? It's doing its thing. Do you know, boys and girls at home, how I actually can do this properly and then turn it into something that can maybe output a little bit of power? I think this is technically an inverter though. We've made an inverter, we just don't have any power behind it. And I do know, when you look at all the inverter ICs, the small ones at least, they seem to have more gubbins. So maybe I need more gubbins. But yeah, please leave some comments down below. Tell me how I can do something a little bit more interesting. I would ideally like to be able to just measure that and at least feel a little tingle. Feel a little tingle in me finger. I was going to say my tongue, not in my tongue. I'm not putting my tongue anywhere near that. But there you go. That's using my Baby Boomer as an op amp, but it seems to work. Please leave a comment down below as ever. Thanks for watching.